it was like a 6-month transition from like the time that we bought the home and moved to the time we said, you know what, if we're doing it for ourselves, why not do it for other people?
I think one thing that is unique about us here on our farmstead is most farmsteads are either like protein or produce.
I don't think a lot of things are hard. I kind of feel like prepared or not prepared.
Every aspect on the farm, we found a mentor.
Because there's so many things you don't control with farming: weather, rain, predators.
It was crazy when he said, oh, well, let's start a garden. I was like, you're absolutely nuts. We have 2 small children. I had never seen anyone with like a backyard garden, mind you. Okay. So I was like, okay, we'll try it out. And essentially it started with me like being his garden attendee. He was still working full time, of course. So when he would go out of town for conferences and things, I was there watering his garden, making sure it stayed alive. Well, one evening I literally was like, in a rush. I'm like, I have both of the kids, just got in from school. I'm like, oh, but I don't have a bell pepper for dinner. Well, I was like, I could just go to the grocery store. I said, I'm not going to go to the grocery store. I had the 2 small kids. That's what it was. I'm like, no, absolutely not. We're not going to the grocery store. And I remembered, I'm like, oh, well, we have bell peppers out back.
It's not just growing cute flowers.
Right. And I didn't know if it was ready or not. I'm just like, oh, well, I need a green bell pepper that looks about the right size. I'm going to grab it and take it in. And like, I remember talking to him on the phone that night, and I was like, dinner was just so good tonight. Oh my goodness. Like the kids ate it up. And I think we did like an unstuffed like bell pepper that night with rice and the bell peppers cut up in there, tomatoes cut in there, and like lettuce, all the salsa on top. And I get on the phone with him and I'm telling him the story of like how great dinner was. And I was like, oh, it was the bell pepper. It was a bell pepper. And from that point on, I've been hooked. Like, I asked him to, like, add another bed. And then it was, like, another bed before the season was even over. And by the time we left there, we had 4 garden beds out back. Yep. We had a compost mountain going. Our neighbors probably thought we were crazy. And we had, like, our whole deck out back, like, full of pots of, like, herbs and just, anything that I can grow out there, we were growing.
So it was more like the flavor.
Yes. Like and the freshness. Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, if that's what a bell pepper tastes like what am I getting at the store? And then that catapulted everything. Yeah. After that, I was like, oh wait. And then like you said, I thought about like how long things take to travel from point A to point B to then get on my table, and the storage life on that. And so all of those things came after I actually had a real taste of like what food could taste like. A lot of people say, oh, their gateway livestock animal is chickens, but our gateway was goats. Like we moved to our land in October. September.
We moved the Thursday before Labor Day of 20.
Yes. Okay. So from September, yes. Yeah. So from September to October 1st or 2nd was when we brought our first goats home. And you'll see out back, this property only had our home, our detached garage, and a freestanding barn. So no pastures, no hoop houses, no garden spaces, no nothing. And since moving here, we have built up all of that. Yeah. So all of the pastures that you'll see today, we built up. All of the hoop houses we've put in, all of the garden spaces we've put in.
Fencing?
Yes, fencing. Sylvester's done all the fencing. Wow. But we started off with 6 goats in October, and then we were like, okay, we're going to raise out these goats. Not all of them, of course. We were going to save the females for ourselves to build herd numbers and everything, but we had a few of the males for meat. And we just, that first year, after getting the goats, then we got the egg layers. So we brought the egg layers home before we had a house for them. Don't tell other homesteaders that, but I would not advise that.
Very similar with the goats.
Yeah, because we were like, okay, we asked the guy, hey, can you hold them for the weekend while we get this pasture? And his family was moving down to Missouri to another farm and everything, and we wanted the goats. We met with them. It was such a blessing to meet them. And he was like, yes, I will hold the goats for you guys for the weekend. And we literally had like 2 days.
No, that was like a Monday.
Okay. And then we went to go get them before the weekend Saturday, or something.
And at that point, we didn't even have a pasture in the back.
So we were like, we got to get this pasture up. And it was just him and I out back getting the pasture up. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 days later.
Yes. And so we went from
when the pasture was completed, and then we got our first 6 goats.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So then from the goats, we did egg layers. And then, of course, that spring, we were like, we have to get some meat birds. The first year, we raised out 25 meat birds for ourselves. And that was just really to, like, make sure that we can produce for ourselves. And as we were producing for ourselves, we were realizing, well, hey, there's not great food for people to get locally. So if we're going to go out and feed 6 goats, why not go out and feed 100 goats? Or however many, like, our land footprint can actually sustain. Yeah. And so from then, our mindset shifted. And so we went, all in on farming. We researched a lot. We still research a lot, read a lot, study a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started as Friends Family Homestead.
Right.
Yes.
And that's your homestead part.
Yes.
Right.
But then you wanted to transition it into a business, and that's Prairie Hills Farm.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So people might see you as both,
Yes.
but you're the same people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's us.
Very cool. So
And I was,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say in our transition, it was like a 6-month transition from like the time that we bought the home and moved to the time we said, you know what, if we're doing it for ourselves, why not do it for other people? That was only a 6-month homesteading journey.
Okay.
So, it was kind of crazy, but like when we just seen the need in our local area, it just made sense.
How did you see the need? What presented itself? What showed up?
Well, I go to my local grocery store, and it's the south side of Muncie, and I want to say they might only have like 2 options for organic, and those are apples. You can't go and pick a head of, or a cabbage and this is organic and this is not organic. There's just not an organic option, and we want organic food. We grow our food organically, and I know that other people will want that at an affordable price. So that was one of the biggest things.
And then just talking to people,
Yeah.
People just saying, the food quality's not great, or there's not the options that they would want. And so just hearing that over and over, and more or less just getting involved in the community. Especially, I tell people, if you want to know what's going on and how people feel, go to the local gas station. Or
So true.
there's always like that one gas station or
Yeah.
corner store or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. And like you could just listen to the heartbeat of the town, and just hearing how people were talking about different things. It was just like, yeah, there's a gap that needs to be filled.
There's a need for food.
There's a
Yes.
big need for food.
Yeah.
Local, fresh,
Yeah.
organically raised food.
Local
Right.
good food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that transition, although it was relatively quickly, did you find that it was hard or easy to transition from homestead to now business, because you both are now on the farm full time?
Correct.
So how was that transition for you?
I think that transition was pretty smooth because, like we said, we were already doing all of the things, already going out and feeding all of the animals. I think the biggest transition was from actually going from, actually being employed to saying, no, we are going to do this full time. And that's just because there's a lot of upfront input into farming. We have to feed out. One, you have to buy the animal. You have to purchase the animal, right? Then after that, you have to feed the animal out for a certain amount of time, no matter if it's goat, chicken, turkey, whatever it is, right? And then before you even get anything back on that, so it's a long process. And so I think that transition was harder for me, I would say. And just because I knew the economy, everything was going up.
As far as stress is concerned, it was
Yeah,
more stressful.
yeah, more stressful. Like I said, just the inputs in farming. But actually being farmers, I think that was an easy transition. What did you say?
Yeah, I have a kind of a weird philosophy on like hard. And so I don't think a lot of things are hard. I kind of feel like prepared or not prepared,
Okay.
or trained or untrained. And for us, we were already untrained. So like for us to say, if we're going to do 10, might as well do 100. Like it didn't really like make me feel stressed or anything, because it was like, well, we already don't know how to do 6, proficient,
Well, we're learning,
but so it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I will say something that helped us get over the hump very quickly was found a goat mentor, and then a farm mentor, and then Sabrina found a chicken mentor.
And a bee mentor.
And a bee
so in every
mentor.
aspect on the farm, we found a mentor.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the top things. And even with saying that, because I've been a mentor to someone and a mentee, having a mentor is just to have someone there to kind of not walk you through or give you the answer, because you still have to know the information for yourself. You still have to do the research. You still have to have a clear understanding of farming and how to raise that animal. But having a mentor is when you're in a situation, you've already gone down all of the checkpoints in your head. This is the way that I think I should approach this situation. You can call up that mentor and say, hey, these are what I'm thinking about doing. And that mentor can be there to say, well, maybe think about it this way or think about it that way, just so that you don't necessarily have to bump your head and get into a situation that you might not be able to come back from. So even with having a farm mentor and all of the mentors in every aspect, it's, you know, you still doing the research, you still knowing exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to say. But yeah.
That's something that's actually echoed from a few of our farm visits is mentorship.
Yeah.
And I think that on a professional level, in just work industry as a whole, mentorship isn't really talked about.
Right. Not as much as it should be.
Exactly. And then you get into farming and even less so.
Right.
Because you're just supposed to, well, I don't know, that's the way my dad always did it.
Right.
Or that's the way my grandpa always did it, or whatever. So to be able to go out, find one, have the confidence in finding one, knowing that you're needing one and that being okay.
Right.
It's echoing. It's starting to echo in the industry, and I think that that's awesome.
Yeah.
And something that you guys obviously are glad you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say the funny thing about it is we found our mentors off Facebook, right? So like my mentor for farming, he sells compost.
Okay.
And so we were talking about compost, and then I was just like, I don't know you and you don't know me, but we're having a great conversation. It was like an hour-long conversation that we were just talking about different things. I was like,
messaging.
no,
Over
on the phone.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing too. People are always like, "What? You just call people up?" And it's like, well, yeah, you know, it's building a community. You have to be willing to pick up the phone and ask somebody, you know, talk to people.
And
So,
I think it was just like a Facebook message that said, hey, I'm interested in compost. Don't know how much I need. Like, we're just starting to farm or something like that. But for easier communication, here's my number, right? And then he calls, right? Like a day or whatever the time frame difference. And then we just talked, and I said, hey, will you be my mentor, right? And he's like, absolutely. And that was basically the start. And I don't think we ended up buying compost for 6 months, because I think by that time it was like November or something like that. But we just picked up like immediately, and he was a farmer as well. And we started, you know, getting local beef from him. And I mean, it's just blossomed. It's just been great.
Yeah.
It's just been a blessing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And same with our goat mentor. And that was what was shocking to me, because Sylvester just kept talking about the guy that we're going to go get goats from. He's out in Lebanon. And he talked about him almost as if they were like best friends already. And I was like, how do you know him? And he's like, I don't. We're going to go meet him now. And it was just awesome. And then again, Sylvester went there and just, hey, openly, hey, would you mind mentoring us? We are getting into goat. We have done research and stuff, but it might be something that comes up and we want to call somebody, you know? And he's like, yeah, sure. And like I said, and even now, they're like thick as thieves.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
we talk probably weekly. I mean, just,
yeah.
you know, check on each other.
You
But
built your community.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been great.
It's almost as though farming, and you think conventionally, it kind of feels like everybody's against each other, almost. And you talk about building a community. So what a better way to build your community than to promote mentorship.
Right.
And say, I'll be a mentor, or here's someone I know who could be a good mentor. And then also having that confidence to just ask.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know a lot about that.
Right.
Yep.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I for myself, if I were entering an industry that I didn't really know anything about, I would feel almost intimidated by the people that know more than me.
Right.
So to be able to just say, nope, I don't know what I don't know.
Yep.
Somebody else does. Let's ask them.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And you know what? Like when you said that, I can understand that. But when you like meet a farmer, and I'm sure you've had this experience, farmers are like so not intimidating. They're almost,
That's
it's
so
just,
true.
yeah, it's like family people and just, you know, ordinary people. So like, I think
There's a
that's
stereotype
what,
that's
that's
not targeted
right. And
Yeah.
so, and even with that, they're so not intimidating. Nobody is like the gatekeeper. Everyone wants to like help. One thing about farmers is they understand that they cannot feed everyone.
And that's one thing that I always say.
Yeah.
That was
we
what I
can't
was
feed
just
everyone.
thinking.
So like if someone, because farming is hard work, if someone is wanting to farm, they're like, we want to give you this information because we understand that we cannot feed the world.
Right.
So they're so welcoming, and we've just had like great experiences with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a so cool. What a great message.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about your turkeys?
Yes,
okay.
we can.
And since you still have meat birds on pasture too.
I know, in November.
Yeah. How did that come about? Why do you still have meat birds on pasture?
Well,
Sounds like a
so
funny story.
well, kind of. We do want to get to a point where we possibly can raise meat birds almost year round. So
Okay.
excluding like January, February time, but then having birds on pasture from like March till
Like
December. But we have this is our last bunch of meat birds, and usually, like I said, our meat birds are ran across our driveway over there. But these guys is the last batch, and we're just raising them out now because we were fortunate enough to get a great order, but it was pretty late in the season, right? So a lot of the times I feel like there's a disconnect sometimes.
Hold on, an order for meat or an order for the
for,
chickens?
for meat,
For meat.
chicken, yeah.
For
So
meat.
we recently got an order. It was about
90 birds.
yeah. So that pretty much depleted our freezer space, right? So we're like empty on birds. On our website, we're sold out of a lot of things. But as farmers, we have to prepare for that. We have to plan for that because, growing pasture-raised birds, it's 8 to 10 weeks to do that. And if you're growing for your regular customers and then you have an order in the season, you're like, oh, I didn't account for that many extra birds. So,
Yeah.
but it was a great opportunity, and we plan to work with them in the future. But these birds right here are solely just to kind of replenish our freezer space, even for our family. And then next season, those Gantt charts are gonna be going up in numbers, so we'll see how many birds we'll actually raise out from there. But we just consolidated these guys over here because it is winter time. We don't have water lines everywhere, so this makes it easier for Sylvester when he comes out in the morning to water both the turkeys and the chickens.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a big last minute order.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what that was for? You said it was a great opportunity.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
There's a program with the government through a grant. It's a local food purchasing agreement, and the state of, well, I believe every state, but had some funding to provide local food grown on farms such as this, and they were in need of some protein. And they were looking for chicken in particular, so we got connected with the organization that was helping there, and they wanted X amount of pounds of chicken, and we served them.
So is that like for a food bank or just for someone that has the LFP grant went looking for protein?
So they were purchasing from us to donate to food banks to get out into the local communities.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
And some soup kitchens.
And some
so
soup
that
kitchens.
they were actually going to be donating some of the meat to the soup kitchens for prepared meals. Yeah.
Yep. I'd say we probably grow through the seasons and grow seasonally. So
and that's why I was like,
so with our hoop houses over here, I would say that it'd probably be like part of growing through the season. So we'll start earlier. And this year we actually are putting the heat or wood burning stove in there to even start earlier. Absolutely.
Yes. And so, and like I tell everyone, all you see is from Sylvester and I. So we're a two-man band, so some things we're like working through, right?
So
but you'll see
works
this.
in progress.
Yes, yes, and you'll see this, and that's what I love when people come and visit us is they always see it a work in progress. So this is where we grew our huge slicers this year, and we had how many?
About 256.
Yes, plants in here, and they were all strung. And like Sylvester said, we just got the end caps on, and we're finishing up this end cap. We're getting the wood burning stove.
Will they break it?
No.
No.
Oh, maybe never mind. Whoa!
And
where did you get this from?
Facebook Marketplace.
I love it. It's so antique.
Yes. And so it'll go. And I was telling Sylvester, I was like, I don't want to sound all crazy, but if I spray this and kind of like polish it out, would that be weird? But either way, but I love this. And we're just hoping to get it up and running, and then we'll grow year round in here.
That's awesome.
And so, like I was saying, like I think this would where I'd say we would extend or go through the season, because last year, not in this hoop house in particular, but last year we started kale, broccoli, peas, spinach, cabbage in February.
In hoop house
in a different hoop house, and that one we turned over 3 times. So we're trying to, and that was without any additional heat source. And so if we could do that in February without heat, are we able to get heat implemented and start to grow some of those same leafy greens that are more frost resistant in January? And so that's what we'll try this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we added this year in here that will help, because we don't have a water source in this area.
Oh,
So
you
we
can kinda
have
look
our
behind you.
rainwater catchment that finished putting that together. And
And it's strung up on gutters up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Very cool.
and
And
then
so
we
our-
brought it inside the plastic so that
It won't freeze.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And our first iteration, it was in between these two hoop houses, but for that very reason, since we know we're not going to have water out here, and the primary distribution for water in the wintertime is a 55-gallon drum and like scooping.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So
We're not
that's why
into
we
that.
put it in here. And then the other benefit is when it is warm, like it is when the sun's out or when the heat's going, that's going to give us some radiant heat later on
Yeah.
and prevent from it freezing.
Are you gonna? I see extra gutter. Are you gonna extend those gutters on the whole thing?
You
or
know
just on
what?
the one side?
No, and the reason why is didn't know you didn't know in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
right? And with a couple inches of rainfall, that whole thing
Can
would be
fill up,
full,
yeah.
just off of 30 feet
Yeah.
of gutter.
Yeah.
And that's half of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's-
So you
yeah,
don't
half
need it
on
down,
one side,
you don't
so
need
really
it
a
down
quarter.
a complete hoop house. You just need like a portion of it to collect the water,
Yeah.
and then go from there. And eventually
We'll
we'll
add
have
more.
Yeah. So then it'll go from like one jug to the next.
Now,
to
do
the
you have to
next, but-
heat treat that or UV treat that or anything?
Nope.
Um,
So we haven't.
Okay.
I am planning on painting it black for that very purpose.
Okay.
But it's a food grade, so that food grade plastic, so that's
Already
good
safe.
there. But we will paint it black so we don't get algae buildup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you'll have it on drip then.
Yep.
Yes.
So
Yep.
it will
we're
have
gonna
a
tilt
spigot,
it up a little
regular
bit.
spigot, and then it'll be on drip, tilted in the back for gravity feed.
Oh
Mhm,
man,
mhm.
I can't wait to come back and see it when you guys
Yes.
have it all done. That would be
Yes,
so
yes,
fun.
yes. And so, excuse this right here. I was gonna say, do you want to look at
Yeah,
this
let's
one?
keep going.
So this is one that we have broken down and getting ready for seed. I'll let you come in here.
So this one is in between because again,
Oh,
it's
this is just
November.
yes, and this is the plastic that blew around the other day.
It's warm in here.
Yes. I wish I had a temperature gauge, but I think it's probably 80.
80, 90.
Yeah, and the back, as you see, is open a little bit. So even with that, like
Oh,
it gets pretty warm in these things.
So what are you gonna grow in here this winter?
The leafy greens, so salad. We're gonna get some spinach in here soon because really this is the perfect time for spinach. Cabbage going, some sweet peas going very early. But yeah, and then this will change as well. Like it'll just continue to change. We grew in here, what we just took out was cherry tomatoes. And all of the cherry tomatoes, of course, were lined up on this trellis here. And all of our drip is back there. So we'll run the drip back down here, get the seeds going here pretty soon. Like I said, salad, leafy greens, some kales.
Are
some
those like
cabbages.
your big money makers as far as marketing
Absolutely not.
goes? Really?
Yeah.
You'll be surprised. And that's one thing that we really learned this year also is just what our community like wants from us. So essentially, the leafy greens like kales and everything like that doesn't really sell.
But salad mix does great.
Yes, everyone loves
Okay.
salad
Like,
mix.
salad mix does great.
Fantastic. So yeah, so we learned what our community wants this year from us, and that's where we're gonna go. But yeah, usually like your curly kales, your red Russian kales, no, that's kind of like exotic where we are out here. Nobody really wants kales. And so next year we're gonna give them what they want, right? So all of your bell peppers, your tomatoes, your cucumbers, the onions, your staples for summer, like all of the melons. People love melons. And then go from there. But I think with farming, and especially with like a farmstead small scale, it's really hard to say, okay, we have to go with what our community wants, because it can change from like year to year. So like last year we had a great time selling whole chickens. Everyone wanted a whole chicken, and they're amazing. Our chicken is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But this year we offered cuts. And so nobody wanted the whole chickens. Like no one really wanted that. And so we were like, okay, well, let's, go back to the drawing board. Let's, figure out our, numbers for like what we're going to do. And that took off. So next year we'll see. We'll see if it goes back to like whole chickens and we don't have enough whole chickens in the
Yeah.
freezer, or will it be something new? Like, no.
So
yeah.
the ability to pivot relatively quickly
Yeah.
is so important for a small farmer.
Yes.
So does that mean, Sylvester, that you're at the gas station like every day, keeping your pulse
You know what?
on the market?
Yes.
So-
he gets his coffee with all the local
yeah.
farmers in the
Yeah.
morning.
You do? I
7
love
o'clock, 7 to 7:30 every day, generally, 6 days out of the week.
That's awesome.
But I will say that some of the kales and the things that you would traditionally think, we are starting to work with some different organizations and looking for some chefs and restaurants that will be the steady.
Yeah.
So it's always a moving target, but we always try to move with it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Is that exhausting sometimes?
He
Yeah.
loves that fast pace of everything and the flip and the flop. Whereas me, I'm like, well, I'm still raising children. I still homeschool. Like, I kind of need the farming and the business to be steady and not like, okay. But I think that's what works for us.
Yeah.
Is because we kind of balance each other in that aspect.
Yeah, and I'm like, something's chaotic. I just look at it for a minute. I'm like, wait, it won't be chaotic if we just do this, and do this, right?
Yeah.
And like, put the resources or time or whatever to get it going. Like, I love solving a problem. Love it.
Yeah.
You and Paul get along so well.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's how he
the
is.
crazier the problem, the more
The
fun I can
better.
have.
Whereas
Yep.
I'm like, oh, we do not need this
A
problem
little
right
more
now.
calculated
Yep.
when you're raising kids and you're like, but I'm gonna be needed here in about 3
Yes,
seconds.
yes,
so-
yes, yes. And the other thing about being farmers, is a lot of people that we work with understand that our children are like a big part of what we have going on here. Like I said, we started off
I'm
as
gonna
a
let that air out a little bit.
we
Yeah, that's
started
okay.
off as a homestead, homeschooling and things like that. So like they, expect it to be like, okay, well, the children are either going to come or, there might be some pull there. And
It's
I
a
love
whole
that.
family
Yeah.
event.
And I love that people can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. These are the peppers that you sell to a hot sauce company.
Yes.
That's correct, yep.
Here, well,
That
it's still
is-
connected there. I'll just leave
Yeah,
it.
it's connected.
Okay.
That is really
But yes,
cool.
and the
So-
frost has come in already. We've had a hard frost, and that's why they're like this. But I really just wanted to leave these in here so that people can get like the scale of this. I think in this hoop house alone, we probably had about how many pepper plants? Like
About
4.
about 250.
Okay, about 250 pepper plants. And all of these peppers are grown for a hot sauce company called All Sauce Hot Sauce. They're right outside of Chicago.
We will put the link in the description.
Yes, because their hot sauce is amazing. And that is not just because we are like their pepper suppliers, but if you like hot sauces, they're amazing. I think right now he's at a number like 14 different sauces.
I think so, because one is just came out or it's coming
Yeah.
out Friday.
Yeah,
Very
and they're
cool.
amazing. So what we do here is he sends us the seeds every year. We start everything from seed. We'll keep him updated on what germinates, what doesn't germinate so well, and then we'll let him know exactly what makes it out to the hoop house and in
Okay.
the soil. Once these start to produce, we allow the peppers to ripen on the vine, and then we'll pull those and send them off. Right now, it looks like we still have a lot of peppers on here, but I think we're going to dry these out just for ourselves and do something with, or even if we contact him and say, hey, he'll want to dry them out, we can send them to him.
Okay.
But that frost came in like October 20th,
Like
and
a
it was
week
it was
then
a hard
warmed up
frost.
the next week, like
Yeah.
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 Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll even possibly be able to heat this hoop house.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of growing the peppers throughout the winter, we would just kind of like let them be dormant so that first thing the next spring they're blooming and we don't have to continually start from seed. But even with that, every year could be a little bit different because he might have like new peppers that he might want us to try for a new hot sauce. So we'll figure, we'll see what it happens over the years. But, I don't mind starting the pepper plants from seeds and then getting them out here because it's just like,
it's the best part.
yeah, it's like
like, seeing
seeing
it from
them.
the beginning
Yeah.
all the way to like
This.
where it's like the season is over.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
pretty
And it's
cool.
rewarding.
Yeah.
So
Very
how
rewarding.
does a relationship like that get built? How did you connect with this person, or how did they connect with you? How did that work?
Yep. So this situation happened because when we were transitioning from Georgia to here, I was to her, said, hey, this is what, going to be a farmer and
And
whatnot.
he thought we were crazy.
Yeah. And, he said, I have a friend who has a hot sauce company.
So wait, your mentor in your
My-
previous life worked.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So he was actually my first boss, or he was the director of the first company that I worked for.
Okay.
And we just got pretty close. And we just a different relationship. So every time I had a promotion in corporate world or anything like that, I always talk to him. Hey, this is this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
A lot
very
of
cool.
respect for Stanley. But when I was transitioning here, I said, hey, this is what we're doing. And he's like, I'm excited for you. And he was like, well, I have a friend who has a hot sauce company and he needs more peppers and he's growing and you're starting a farm. And he made the connection and we've been off and running ever since. So
Cool.
the funny thing is we kind of had this agreement that we were going to supply for them. And I think this was like November or so, the first year we were here. We didn't have a hoop house.
Oh my
We didn't have,
gosh.
we had zero, right? But we knew that,
You
we
are
were
all
going
in.
to,
Yeah.
this is what we want to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's how that came about. But with other, I would say deals or like getting into the grocery store and partnerships, a lot of it's really word of mouth.
Yeah.
The grocery store was when we opened up our bank account for our business and some other things. One of the bankers said, hey, have you been to this store yet? Like, no. It's like, oh, that's one of our friends. Here's her contact information. So we reached out to them, had them out to the farm. And so really, I mean, we've said it a lot, but it is community. Like getting to know the people and the needs around you, geographically or just in the people who you know. You never know what can happen from it. Because in this situation, we were moving to the country to grow food and homestead. Had nothing to do with growing peppers, right? But he had a friend who needed more peppers. And so just people knowing what you want and what you need can really help connect some of those dots that would never get connected in any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
We have some of the mamas and the babies. And so these are July babies out here. And they're out here doing their thing. It was nap time. Oh, yeah, she's nice. She's nice. Usually they're like always coming up to get pets, so I'm surprised nobody wants to get pets today.
Oh, they're full.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're full.
Aw.
You have one out there sleeping. Listen, when we first moved to the homestead, we would read about like the death naps and things. And I didn't experience that. And one day I was in the house at the top window in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking like we have a dead goat out there. And I get out here and next thing you know, I'm like midway out here. And I'm like, oh, whew, okay, he's up. She's up. She's just playing in herself. But yeah, so these are the mamas and the babies. This is group B now. So again, we started off with 6 goats. 3 of them we still have as moms here now.
Yep.
And our herd really built from that. We brought in a few goats, I think maybe like 10, 12 that we eventually purchased for group A. But this is all second generation. So all of
Second or third.
Yeah, so all of these moms, I'm saying the mamas that kidded, this is all from our farm.
Wow.
So again, we try to reserve all the females, and then of course we go ahead and sell all of the boys. Hello, mamas. She's like, what you doing?
Let me smell the camera. Hi.
Yep.
Very nice.
And these
so
are July babies.
you don't have to buy goats then.
No, we have a
Well-
closed herd at this point.
Yeah, it just depends. So right now, because we sell goat live to people who are going to butcher, a lot of people who need halal meat or kosher. And so there's a community that's in this area who found us. And so there was actually a gentleman here yesterday, and he said, yeah, there's about 30 of our families that are over here, and we're all coming to you. So if you would have asked me that same question 2 months ago, I'd say, no, we have more goats than we need. But right now we're waiting for them to grow because there is a population of people
It's a
who,
demand now.
Yeah. The demand is just spreading.
So they butcher themselves and then harvest it all themselves.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They come out to
So
the
they'll
farm,
buy
they'll
from
be able
us
to
and
pick their buck over there, and we
we'll
weigh them
weigh 'em.
up, and they'll say, yep, that one, or they'll say, nope, another one, or we need a bigger one, and so we go, and then they select their goat, and they process them.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they do that here, or do they take the live goat with them and do it on their own?
So both. So some
Okay.
people have come and actually selected the live goat, tied it up, and taken it with them, and then we have families that do come onto the farm, and we allow them to quarter it.
Okay.
They'll leave all of the scraps, and then they'll take that with them.
Okay.
So both ways. Yeah.
You just try to be accommodating.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Nice.
And I
Yep.
will say, even with that, I think just having the families here that actually do process their meat here, it even connects us even more, because a lot with our meat that we sell, our goat meat in particular, and our chicken, but with the goat, we take them in, of course, to USDA certified facility. So for us, it still kind of disconnects us as a farmer because we're not processing it ourselves. But when we have those families come and seeing just like their emotion and their respect for your animal that you just raised for them to then go and nourish their family with, it just ties us back into it. I don't want to get emotional, but it's a beautiful thing to
really
be
cool.
Yeah.
Connected to your food, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And then
do
to
you-
see other people's connection and respect to the food also is just beautiful.
And how great is it that you've found people that share that respect
Yeah.
Yes.
for food with you,
Right.
and that they found you,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Right.
that you can supply them. I mean, it just
Yeah.
feels like a whole circle of things.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
Yes.
very
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
And that's,
Awesome.
I mean, we keep saying it, but it's the community. And because they were just driving down the street because they were at the park and said, hey, do you sell goat?
Yeah.
From there, it just, then somebody else comes and somebody else comes.
You guys just have like something about you that people are like, hey, I could talk to them about my whole life story,
Yeah.
and they'd be
Yeah.
like,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Like
that means
how-
so much. Yes.
I can feel it.
Yes.
I mean, I can feel it, but then you telling me the stories from your customers, I mean, it just reiterates itself.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
It's very
Thank
cool
you.
that you guys are able to feed people
Yes.
Yeah.
with that part of your
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
blessing
thank you.
to be
It
able to
is.
serve. Like, it's a privilege. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard. Like,
Yeah.
I will not cut out, anything. It's, and I wouldn't even say necessarily hard. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work,
Right.
right? Because I don't think anything that we do on the farm individually
It's
is
necessarily
difficult.
hard,
Like,
yeah.
it's not difficult,
Work.
but the managing of the time, planning for things that you don't know you need to plan for, weather. I mean, so all those different variables makes it a complicated equation,
Yeah.
but nothing within it's like, oh, I need to feed the goats. That's not hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But then it's like, you need to feed the goats when it's negative 40 wind chill. It's like, not hard, but it's
Christmas
Challenging.
Eve.
it's hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How much exactly are you raising here? So we didn't talk about how many meat birds and
So this year we
Stuff
raised
you-
about
600-700.
okay.
and that was less than what we raised last year,
Yeah.
right? And that was because, again, the market really got shaky. So we kind of had to put like the gas brake. We don't have a walk-in freezer, so our cold capacity is limited. And with that, like I said, when we raise stuff on our small scale farm, we really have to know in advance where that's going and accommodate for that, because we will run out of space to hold it, right? And then you can't leave birds on the grass because then they get so big that nobody wants them anymore, right? So it's just always that gas break.
Yeah.
Next year, I hope that we're doing over 1,000.
We'll
We did
do
over 1,000 the first year,
Yep.
the year before. And then with goats, honestly, we were at a point where just with the boys alone, it would take us right up until the next group of boys were about ready to start being about 60 pounds or so, right? So we would sell out, and then we would have, boom, that next group
Okay.
that was like right there, just need another month or two. But now we're like,
Chasing it.
yeah,
We're
right?
chasing it.
So, and you can't make a goat grow faster than what it's going to grow, right? So we're just, trying to figure out that ebb and flow of things.
What about turkeys?
With the turkeys, the
So
first year we
this
did,
year the first year we did 6 just for ourselves
Yeah.
and
Okay.
family.
and then
And then last year,
we were out of turkeys.
yeah,
We didn't raise because we had so much other things going on, and
Yeah,
we
we
were
just
like,
couldn't
again,
bring
we
it
had to
in.
make it sustainable for ourselves.
And
And I
this
hated
year-
that. I love turkeys on the farm.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're like amazing. So
Are they
I'm
your
happy.
favorite, you think?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Just the sound of them, they're calm, collected. There's turkeys, right? and if they get out, they just want to stay here. They'll come up to the window, and we're inside working or something. I'll see a little turkey, like, oh hey. But yeah, so I'm happy this year that we'll be full-time, like year-round turkeys. And
Okay.
so this year I think we did over
about 20, 25
well,
Okay.
yeah.
is what we did. So looking at next year, we'll probably do 1,500 chickens, and we'll probably do about 150 turkey.
Okay.
And I don't want to say it, but I think those might even be a little
Low.
conservative.
Okay.
Based
what
off
about goats?
goats. See, goats is a hard one.
Okay.
If you would have asked me 3 months ago,
Yeah.
then I would be, because our customers who continue to keep coming back, they're very
frequent.
very frequent, or like on a cycle. So, okay, this person, okay, I know you're going to be back in 3 months. So some of the people who've been 3 months are now 6 weeks. At the same time, now we have new customer base coming in, which is
2 weeks.
every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so if I would have to guess, next year we'll probably, for meat specifically, direct to customer off the farm, we'll probably do 40 to 50 that way. And then we'll probably do another 15 to 30, maybe when we take it straight to the processor.
And to sell.
And then we'll
goat
probably
meat.
do another 5 to 10 of farmers that want to add to their programs.
Okay.
Because we
So
sell,
you're
or
selling breeding
pets.
stock too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Breed pets, direct off farm.
If anybody wants a
consumption
goat,
and-
you've got to go
yeah.
for whatever their
Yeah,
need is.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
So we'll
much.
probably
So-
do about 50 to 70 goats
Yeah.
next year.
And the moms in the front are bred right now, and they should kid in February.
Okay.
Now, with them, I mean, they will double their numbers. And I do believe right now that's a group of 20 moms up front. 24 mamas up front. So,
Wow.
And we can have, I always estimate based off of our birthing rates before, it's like
Yeah.
1.8
Okay.
per doe.
Uh-huh.
And so we'll get somewhere between 30 to 50
Babies.
babies. And
Wow.
then the split, I mean, we don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but
Right.
usually it's around 50-50,
yeah,
Okay.
boys
which
and
has
girls.
been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we'll probably have 25 out of this group, and then we'll have another group that's bred. The ones that were in the back, they'll be bred next year as well. So we'll probably have
Add 100.
probably
Yeah.
probably 80 to 100 babies
Yeah.
next
Wow.
year.
Isn't it so crazy
Realistically.
how fast goats can like
Oh, it's crazy.
just move
Multiply,
their
yeah.
numbers?
Yeah.
The goat math.
Oh, it's crazy.
And
And
I
I-
don't notice it until it's time for feed.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, feed used to be every 2 months, because we buy it by the ton.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, this is going to last 2 months. Then it's like, okay, 6 weeks. Then it's like, 4 weeks. And it's been
Yeah.
4 weeks for
A
a
while
good
now.
amount. Now I'm like, 3 weeks. And now I'm like, but it's
Yeah.
it's exciting, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Like we're at 3 weeks, we're going through 2,000 pounds of food for goats,
It's a
right?
lot of animals.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of animals.
And that's one reason why the goats now have to go off and work for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's why we,
So you're
are
changing
joining
your goat
the
program a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to walk back
for
this way.
brush clearing.
Yeah, so you've talked about that a little bit in our visit, but let's just like focus in on that. So you are going to send the goats off to do brush clearing
Yes.
somewhere else
Yes.
for someone else.
Yes.
That's going to cut back on your feed expenses.
Yes. Cut back
And
on our pastures.
cut back
So
on your
it,
pastures.
yep, it lets that
And
rest.
Are
Yeah.
they paying you for that? So is that going to be additional income?
Yes.
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 Okay.
And that is what we're hoping. So again, with everything on our farm, we just really want it to be sustainable and regenerative. And so I look at the goats going out and brush clearing as helping to be sustainable.
Okay.
Because again, that input on feed, if we're paying out for a ton of feed every 3 weeks, that's a lot of
Yeah.
upfront capital. And I pride myself in saying that everything that we've done here so far, up until our water catchment system, that was a grant, but everything else we've been self-funded. So the goats at this point have to go off and work for themselves
Yeah.
a little bit.
And the other thing too, the benefit to whoever is getting brush cleared, without goats doing it, it would be more of your conventional,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
it'd be more of your gas powered and big heavy equipment and things of that nature.
Right.
And we appreciate that other people appreciate that there is a more eco-friendly way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other part that we really want to promote is, doing things as sustainably as possible, even if it is just brush clearing, right?
Yeah.
Like how excited will somebody be when they look out their front yard or wherever the goats are and they see a whole gang of goats says, like
And grazing.
there is nothing better than that, right? And
Yeah.
I tell people like goats are by far my favorite animal. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm having a tough day, I'm upset, I'm tired. Go hang out with a goat for 5 minutes. If you're not in a better mood, like
You're doing something wrong.
yeah, something absolutely
You're
wrong.
doing something wrong.
And so that's the other benefit that you can't necessarily quantify, but it's significantly more healthy, right? The only gas we're going to use or inputs is basically getting the animal there and then bringing them back.
Yeah.
And then they do a wonderful job of clearing and maybe some small bush hogging or something like that, but the most part they are going to take care of it. So brush clearing is a benefit for resting, but it's by no means is that a replacement of their like us feeding them.
Right.
Right.
So we'll still have water there. We'll still have food there. Daisy will be there
Okay.
as well. And every solution is going to look a little different. But you see, we had those big water jugs. We will take those. We'll have bulk feed there. Start working on some automated systems that may drop, feed,
If
gravity
need be.
feed, and things,
Okay, yeah.
just depending. So every job is going to be different.
Right.
A one-day job is going to look different than we need to clear 15 acres.
Right.
And so we're just, we'll work through
Plug
what
and
that
play.
that
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're figuring out how to market yourself differently.
Yep.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think if there is anybody that may be in your spots who didn't really have a green thumb, didn't really think that this would be part of their plan, they're not sure if they want to homestead, they don't know if they want to make money, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them to either think about or, go ahead and do it, jump off the cliff? What would you tell them?
I think we're probably going to have two.
Different.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're a man. I'm joking. I'm
That's
joking.
so
Yeah.
true though.
Yeah.
No, I don't hold you. I don't hold that against
It's a
But
benefit.
yeah, it is.
It's
It is.
partnership,
And,
yeah.
and we need you on the farm.
Coach.
Now, one thing that I would say that, it is going to be challenging. I know that like social media these days people have told it to me like, oh, you make that look so easy. It's not easy. It is by far not easy. So I just think going into it, knowing that you are going to have some tough days, knowing that everything is not going to go by the book. You can read all the things out there, right? But not until you are in it and hands-on will you actually have clarity on what it actually means to be like a farmer or a homesteader or a grower, a producer. So I just think that, going into it, knowing that you're going to have tough days and expecting that goes a long way in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sylvester.
And what I would say is the biggest part I would say is planning. And that's going to be in all aspects. The pre-plan before you start to homestead or farm, whichever direction you go. The planning before you put your seed in the ground. How are you going to do that? Are you going to use big equipment? There's just a lot of different avenues. So kind of locking down on the plan as early as you can and put it on paper and try to track that thing until you're tired of looking at it, until it's like burned into your mind. Because there's so many things you don't control with farming: weather, rain, predators, your soil, right? There's so many things you don't control that's going to be your everyday job. Plan for the things that you can control, right? And all those other things are going to happen to every single farmer. But having a good plan and knowing where you can push harder, pull off, deviate, not deviate, will give you a lot more flexibility, so it's not so rigid. That'd probably be my best advice. Plan, and your plan should include things that are going to make you flexible, or add flexibility so you can trigger here, pull off, and go harder there. Would be my best advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate you guys having me out, and I'm glad that we were able to connect because both of us kind of lost our contact information for each other after the farm tour, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll connect. And
farming happened.
Farming happened. Our phone numbers got lost.
Yep.
But thank you so much for having me out.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Everything that we talked about, we'll put the links down in the description. If somebody is in the Delaware County, Muncie, Indiana area, how can they find you?
So you can go directly to our website at prairiehillsfarms.com. And that has all of our direct contact information on there, like cell phones, our email, and all of that. And you can even place an order there. And then we are also located at the downtown Muncie Farmstead and Grocery Store if you would like to just go there and purchase at a grocery store. But yeah.
And in the farming season, we also participate in different markets. So next year, 24 season, we're looking at what markets we want to take part in. But we keep everybody updated on our socials, where we'll be and how they can be served by us.
Yes.
Very cool.
And that's both at Prairie Hills Farm on Facebook and Instagram, and then also the Friend Family Homestead, and that's on Instagram if you want like the more personal behind the scenes life of farmers.
Very cool. All right, thank you guys again.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.